What I used to be afraid of when I first started this venture was failure. But I've learned that through failure, I have grown so much more the times that we took chances and it didn't work than the times that we were afraid to kind of jump and see where that kind of took us.
Hello and welcome to the Ndini podcast. I'm Sandra Chuma. Every week, I'm bringing you conversations with bold, inspiring, trailblazing, and influential women of African descent. These are women from all walks of life, women who are entrepreneurs, artists, social activists, athletes. Each one of them, in their own way, is changing the narrative on what it means to be an African woman. They'll be telling us about their journeys and sharing their secrets to success. And I hope that by hearing their inspiring stories, you will be inspired. Caroline.
Hi, Sandra. How are you?
I am so great. How are you doing?
I'm good. Ridiculously busy, but I'm good.
Ridiculously busy is in a good way?
Yeah.
There was some hesitation there. What's the hesitation about, Caroline?
Oh no, it's just quite busy. So our company is up for sale. And so it's just been quite hectic having the bidders kind of come and we're having due diligence, we're doing all this, so it's quite busy at the moment, just getting all the information out and as well as your day-to-day job.
Okay, hang on a sec. So which company?
Sure.
The company you work for?
Yes, the company I work for.
Why don't we start? Tell me about what you do in your regular life.
Oh, okay, sure. So I work for a private equity firm, and I work within finance tax consulting. So essentially looking after our investment as well as the company, helping to advise on deals, just general tax compliance. We have investments in, I guess, all over the world, in America and in Europe, in India, in Asia. So just making sure that we're tax compliant and the business is not losing any cash unnecessarily. So it's a lot of tax structuring work. So it's a very, very varied role. And then I also do some VAT. I do some personal tax. So it's been a very good experience in terms of really broadening my horizon and looking at things other than corporate tax, because I'm purely corporate tax focused. So this role has really opened me up to other taxes and given me the opportunity to grow that way.
Gosh, it sounds like you're very busy. And how did you end up in this world, in the accounting world?
It's actually really, I mean, my mother is an accountant, and I remember growing up thinking I don't want to be an accountant. So
You and me both.
Right. And then I went to university and I did a finance degree. I joined the Big Four in corporate tax, employment taxes actually. And then I did a rotation in corporate tax insurance, and I really liked it and ended up staying there. And then after about 4 or 5 years at the Big Four, I realized that it wasn't really for me. So then took roles in industry and insurance firstly, and then I moved to an oil and gas company. And then this is like my third move into private equity. So all very different, all very, very different roles, but enjoyable.
Talking about very, very different, and probably the main reason I'm speaking to you today is the other thing that you do. So why don't you introduce yourself and say what your other life is when you're not doing tax and all things related to finance?
Sure. So, my name is Caroline Hlahla. I am from Zimbabwe. I was actually raised in Kenya, but at about 18, I moved back to Zimbabwe to do my upper and lower six. So I have lived in Zimbabwe briefly. I work in finances, as you're aware, and I live in London with my partner, Sandra, who is Italian. Now, the one thing that I'm passionate about is entrepreneurship, and I run a business with my business partner, Khulile Vilakazi-Ofosu, who's based in South Africa. We run a hair extensions company called Palance Essential Hair. And our newest baby is the Sibahle Collection, which is a range of vanilla-scented dolls, which includes a black doll with afro hair and a doll with albinism.
So you said that you started something called Sibahle dolls. Where did that idea come from, or why did you start that?
It's a very interesting story. So Khulile and I actually met through the hair, and we it's a bit of a long story, and that could be saved for another day. So we met through the hair, and we spent a lot of time kind of focusing on getting textures to suit Black women's hair, natural hair, because she had dreadlocks initially, and she wanted something after she cut off her dreadlocks that was similar to her natural hair. I'd gone through a similar process where I had relaxed my hair for ages and I'd lost my hairline, and I cut my hair and I wanted something natural. So we spent a lot of time kind of developing the concept around Bounce Essential Hair. Now, while we're busy trying to cater for elder women who've kind of reached, I don't know, mid 25, 30s and decided that they want to go the natural route.
Did you
one day,
wait, hold up there, Caroline. Did you just say older women? Excuse you.
I fall within that bracket, so it's okay.
25 older women. But we digress.
I fall within that bracket. So hands up. I am one of those as well. And her daughter came home one day and said, "Mom, can I please have a pillow and a peg nose so I can have long flowy hair and a pointed nose?" And we kind of looked at each other and we said, we've spent a lot of focus trying to think about the older women, when we should really be starting to think about our children. The only reasons our children are not proud to have their natural hair is because for the longest time, as we were sold that long flowy hair was the way. And I was talking to Khulile, and I always say this, like, I remember one of my earliest childhood memories was getting so excited because I was getting a jerry curl, so I could flick the hair behind my ear. So that was essentially the starting point of the Sibahle collection. That look, no, yes, we have bounce. Bounce is great, but bounce is almost a fix for the issues that we had as children. So what we really need to do is to address the problem up front and get our children dolls that look like them, that their features look like them, their hair looks like theirs, so they can really just embrace the natural beauty. And there is less, I suppose, pressure to conform or to look like anything other than who they are.
And so where do you start? So you have this idea. Where do you start? Because you're an accountant, you're in finance. I don't know what Khulile's background is, but I'm going to guess none of you had made dolls before. So how did you get started?
Well, I think that was the hardest thing. I mean, Khulile and I, we always say that there are certain things that we are very strong in. Khulile is what I call our finance minister. She is, I'm in finance, but she is great. She is great with our budgets. Like I'll have to ask for like, I don't even know, $100 and justify what we're spending the $100 on. On the other hand, I am, I guess, a little bit stronger on the procurement side, in terms of she'll give me a task, go find this, and we will go and move hell or high water and look for it and find it. So we spent a lot of time really just trying to see what was on the market already, to see what we didn't want to have, or what we wanted to, like certain dolls that we liked, that we kind of like the features, but certain dolls we didn't like, and we were then very clear about what we wanted to be part of our collection and didn't want. We spent a lot of time traveling in Asia, in Europe, going to toy conferences, to really see what was being offered on the market, and even then we didn't manage to find what we were looking for. Luckily, we went to an exhibition in Germany, in Europe, and that essentially was the starting point of some of the conversations that we had around, number one, the type of manufacturing that we wanted in terms of CE certification, making sure that the toys themselves were safe, because we had the experience of going to Asia and kind of seeing those factories, and we were quite adamant that we didn't want to make the dolls there. So our focus then became around Europe, who were some of Europe's biggest manufacturers, and the conversation started there. Just emailing and approaching them and saying, "This is our idea. Can you help us?"
And where did the money come from? So I'm going to guess all of this, the trips to Asia, all these conversations, it's all money. Where was the money coming from for this?
We were pretty fortunate at the get-go that the hair extensions business was doing really well. And as I've said, we're not frivolous people. We're always planning for the future. So you will not see us driving a flashy car because we've got a massive contract. Now we're pretty prudent when it comes to finances. So we had built up a little cash stash, as we would like to call it, and that is essentially where it started. But that being said, there has been moments where we've had to dig deep in our own pockets to kind of bring the project to the place where we wanted it to be before we launched.
And so what were you looking for? So in terms of, you talked about the features, the proportions of the doll, like what were some of the key things that were important to you for how the doll should look?
The dolls had to look like a Black child. We wanted our full lips. We wanted our round nose, our biggish forehead, our chubby cheeks. And these are features that most manufacturers will shy away from, or they will do it in excess to the point that the doll is features that are actually distorted. So aesthetically, we wanted something that is representative of a beautiful Black child, because we are that. We are not some of what we are seeing on the market that is being sold as Black dolls. The second thing that we didn't want to compromise on was the hair. The hair was not to be long and silky. The hair was to be a full afro that she could do afro puffs. She could do braids. She could twist. She could, and I guess our experience from the hair side really helped us to get a texture that we were happy with in terms of the manufacturer giving us the product that was aligned with what we wanted for the features of the hair. And then the final thing, well, I won't say final, but the other thing I think I mentioned earlier was around certifications and safety around our children, because a lot of times we find that our Black children are given the cheapest toys, or they're given the, it's never top quality product. So we wanted a top quality product that has been certified to be safe by somebody or a recognized certification. And then the final thing is we wanted something that was different, that when your little Black girl or white girl is holding our Black doll, she smells of vanilla, and no other doll at the moment has the same scent. So it's another talking point other than the fact that it's a beautiful doll. There's something different about it.
And why vanilla of all fragrances?
Vanilla is yummy. Vanilla is yummy. But with that being said, and we always ask, we do it at our shows, and one of the questions that we always ask the children is, what does the doll smell like to you? And we thought it smelled like vanilla, but the responses that we've had is it's cotton candy, it's bubblegum, it's cocoa butter, or it's caramel, it's vanilla. So actually, a very few children actually say vanilla, so they'll go the gummy bear route, the cotton candy route, which is actually very interesting feedback.
And you know what I love too about the dolls? I mean, Nobuhle is my personal favorite, but what I love about the dolls is the dresses. So tell me the story behind the accessories and the dresses that the dolls end up in.
The accessories and the doll dresses, I have to thank Khulile for. Khulile is fantastic at working with people within the South African community, even more so people from, I guess, less privileged backgrounds, to give them the opportunities to help us with bounce. So Khulile managed to source a lady who works from her garage with one sewing machine, who makes some of these beautiful, the Afro print type dresses that you see on Nobuhle, as well as the the little jumpsuits that you see on Bontle, which is our second doll. So we have worked quite closely with, like I say, people who are of a less advantaged background, to empower them really, and to really be the driving forces of bounce. And I have to say, we don't give them ideas of what to make for us. They come to us and they say, this is what we're thinking that should be the new collection for the dolls. And 9 out of 10 of the times that they've come up with some proposals for outfits, we've absolutely loved them. They're very creative people. They're very creative. I mean, I'm going to say ladies rather than people, very creative ladies. And they have been instrumental to the brand, because essentially the quality of the sewing, the prints, the styles, we have to credit them. We have to credit them.
And tell me about the names of the dolls. So you mentioned that there's Bontle, there's Zuri, there's Nobuhle. How did you come up with the names, and what do they mean?
The names were something that was very important insofar as we wanted names that resonate with beauty. So Bontle is beauty in Sotho. Nobuhle is the one that represents beauty in Zulu. And we have the newest additions to the dolls, Zuri, Ayana, Neha. I mean, these are all names that if you were to look up, they all resonate with something that is beautiful. And that is something that we want to consistently push out, that irrespective of whether you're holding Zuri or you're an individual suffering with albinism, or you're Indian. And, I think Indians and Africans are sometimes underrepresented in the beauty industry. You are all beautiful, and the dolls' names should really reinforce that.
You talked about the doll, which has albinism. Like, why was that important for you to have a doll?
Khulile and I always say we want to be the voice for the voiceless. We want to speak for those and really represent those that have been ignored by the beauty industry. And people suffering from albinism, honestly, it's, both you and I are from Zimbabwe, and we know that it's, there's some stigma around just and the discrimination really against people who suffer from albinism. So I wanted to bring the doll on the forefront of conversations, really, to educate and make people aware about albinism. And it's really done that. I mean, we launched Zuri earlier this year, and she sold out, and then we've currently brought her back in. And every time we put her out there, she becomes a talking point. And which is really great because she opens up conversations that sometimes people are not willing to start, and sometimes conversations that are sensitive, but conversations that need to be had.
I read somewhere as I was doing my research for this that you were told initially when you tried to go to market with the dolls that the dolls were quote unquote ugly and that they would not sell. What's been the reception of stores, or where do you sell the dolls?
We have 3 websites. South African specific website for the dolls, and then the 2 websites, which one is South African focused and the other is international, which is a hair and doll website, Bounce as well as Sibahle Collection. And we also opened our first flagship store in South Africa. But we found that it's difficult to kind of break into the major retailers because they want a really big piece of our margins. And being quite small, we're not quite at that point where we are making masses of dolls to kind of benefit from the economies of scale. So we are actively using things like pop-ups to get out and about so people can actually see the dolls, interact with them, get to know a little bit more about the brand. But yes, it's primarily been the website, our flagship store, pop-ups and referrals. We get amazing referrals from our customers, and really that has been the biggest push, just people recommending their friends to come. And we'll have birthday parties where people will be like, oh, I'm having a birthday party and I want all the girls that have it. Can you do a discount for us? And it's been fantastic.
And what was the thinking behind the flagship store?
Well, I mean, we dare to dream big, as Khulile will always say. If your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. We always say, imagine challenging Disney and being the Disney of Africa. So we thought that this would be the beginning, and we believe that it's the beginning of what will probably be a franchise one day soon. So it is a store that has the dolls, the Sibahle merchandise, which includes Wellingtons, school backpacks and trolley bags. It includes umbrellas. We'll soon be stocking swimsuits and duvet covers. So it's really about promoting the brand as a lifestyle brand rather than just looking at the store as a toy store.
What's your plan for the future? What's your big, as you said, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. So what is the big plan for Sibahle?
The big plan for Sibahle is to be the Disney of Africa. And I will say that today. I will say that tomorrow. I will say that when we have a 0 bank balance, because we believe in what we are doing. We believe that the toy... this is the distinction that we always make with people, that we don't look at the dolls as a toy. We look at the dolls as a tool. It is an educational tool. It is a tool that is going to use, our Black children are going to use to empower themselves. So the more we can get dolls accessible to everybody, and not just people who can afford to pay 350 rands or £20 here in the UK, but to everybody. Every Black child deserves to have this doll. Every white child deserves to have access to this doll, because they might not be Black, but they have friends who are Black, and they're going to learn to appreciate that. Yes, my hair is flowy, but I don't know, Tafalzo's hair is Afro. So it's a tool, and it's a tool that we want to be accessible to all the children everywhere.
And in terms of where the direction that you want, so you talked about wanting to be the Disney of Africa. Are you looking to expand to, some of the more multimedia things? Like what are some of the things that we can expect to see from Sibahle in the near future?
There are some things that are bubbling that we cannot talk about at the moment, but we think, imagine having Sibahle cartoon. Do you know what I mean? Imagine having a Sibahle, a book club where, we are actually writing books as part of the collection, because it's not just about toys, and it becomes a little bit more educational. And maybe there could be a book about Zuri and understanding about and teaching children, for example, about albinism, and really, I don't know. I think sometimes I'm scared to say where I think it will be, because even that could be limiting. But we see it as I don't know. I think I'm a little bit overwhelmed at the moment, but I really think that it has to be bigger. It will be bigger than the dolls, the merchandise, the cartoons. I don't know. I think Khulile probably answer that better than I am, because I'm already overwhelmed kind of thinking about it.
What is the impact that you want to have in the world?
I think it's leaving a legacy. It's having more children say, "Mummy, she's beautiful. She looks like me." I think that has probably been personally, and Khulile might answer this differently, the phrase that I've heard, or the comment or the feedback that I've had from children, that has made me think, wow, this is why we're doing it. This is exactly why we started this brand.
And what is some of that? Can you share some of the feedback that you have received from both the children, but also from the moms or the dads?
Obviously, we don't have a shop here in London, but I've been fortunate enough to be invited to do a lot of pop-ups. And the great thing with pop-ups, as well as, yes, selling online, is that you can see the look on their children's faces, number one, when they see the dolls. And then there's the verbal comments and feedback that she's gorgeous. She smells like vanilla, mom. Oh, mom, my friends would love this. Or my friends would, I'm going to be the first one to have a Sibahle doll. Oh my goodness, mom, what does Bontle mean? Do you know what Bontle means? And it's a talking point. So now they're learning a little bit of Xhosa, they're learning a little bit of Zulu, they're learning a little bit about that. Just because things are not from Europe or they're associated with Africa, it doesn't mean that they're not great. So this is a product that really brings Africa onto the forefront and being shown as something beautiful. So comments like, "Mommy, she's so beautiful, she looks like me." "Oh, mommy, look, her hair feels like me." "Oh, mommy, can I, do the hair like, I have mine." So it's been so mixed. And I think the parents as well, we've had a few parents with children who have albinism who've actually approached us and said, "You know what, we are so grateful for what you're trying to do, because there's only so much that we can do to tell our children that they're beautiful. But the more that they see things that personify them, that is beautiful, that is out there on the market, the more they will have that self-belief that it's not just my mom who's telling me this. There are other products on the markets that are that reinforcing this idea."
So we talked about the young girls. Let's go back to the brand that started it all, which is the brand for the older girls, Bounce Essential Hair. What was behind you wanting to start that? You talked about wanting to have textures like our own. Did we not have anything on the market already that resembled our own natural hair?
I think we had a variation of things, and I think that the best products that we found when we initially started the journey was products that were coming from America. And for somebody in Africa or even here in Europe to buy anything from America, you're looking at, yes, the time it takes to be delivered, as well as additional duties that will be applied to a product. So Bounce was really something that we wanted to start for Africa, because it made sense for us to wear textures that look like ours. We spent so much money buying textures to look like something else. And so it made sense to promote something that looked like us, that was lacking on the South or the African market, and really do it to a standard or a quality that people would feel that they didn't need to go to America to kind of validate that the product is good.
You said something really interesting where you said we're buying products, that that look like something else, and we try and make them look like us. I'm so fascinated and always have been fascinated. Why is it that in the hair industry, especially as Black women particularly, we're the biggest consumers of hair products, and yet it's not run by any Black people or even Black American people? Why is that?
I think there's so many barriers to market. I think from the longest time we've been taught that European or non-African is better. Khulile and I have been fortunate to meet some extraordinary women in South Africa who are making amazing wet hair care products. But put that product next to a known American or European brand, people will always will not take the African brand. So it's really changing people's perception that just because it's from Africa, it doesn't mean that it's not good. And a lot of work still has to be done to kind of validate that point. And we still find that with our hair products, because we use the same manufacturer as a certain company a very well known company that is based in here in Europe as well as in America. But people will rather spend more money with something that is synonymous with America or with Europe. But I think the tides are changing. I think and I say that as Africans, we are being a little bit more open to trying out things that are predominantly African. We are trying to be a little bit pro-Black, but I think there's still a long way to go in terms of supporting local brands or brands that are run by the Black entrepreneurs.
You talked about the big dreams that you have for Sibahle. What's your big dream for Bounce?
Bounce is great. Bounce is something that Khulile and I first started with, and I have to tell you, Bounce has taught us so many life lessons insofar as resilience. And one of the things that we've decided with Bounce is that we need to make sure that it stays current, and we need to make sure that we consistently reinvent ourselves so we stay relevant. So we are looking to grow organically. We are very cautious about flooding the markets with too many products at once, and then the customer becomes overwhelmed. We are obviously looking to launch new products, and we almost have like a 4 or 5 year timeline of launching specific products that we already have. It's just a matter of doing it at the right time so that we are giving the customer the right type of attention when we introduce a new product and not overwhelming them with too many products at a time. But we love what we're doing. We're seeing a lot of customers who are repeat customers who are actually even asking, "Well, what are you launching this year?" And that kind of buy-in has really made the journey worth it, insofar as we then are always thinking about, okay, how can we make the synthetic quality better so that people can't even tell whether it's human hair or synthetic. What can we do to make the pony better? Could we maybe do it as a mohawk? So we're always having conversations about additional offerings that we can put out there to make that natural hair journey a more, enjoyable journey. Because it is quite difficult, and I put my hand up and say that I've had my challenges with maintaining my natural hair.
And how did you come up with the name Bounce? Like, why is it called Bounce?
Bounce, I guess it was synonymous with the first clip-ins and afros that we did. That it just gives you that bounce. You just we want to bounce absolutely everybody in the world if we could. It was just a name that sounded very right at that moment, and as the brand has grown, people don't even call us Bounce Essential Hair. They actually just call us Bounce, and people know who we are.
And so for both Sibahle as well as Bounce, are these products that you ship internationally? Like, where are they available?
So, yes, we ship internationally. So the Sibahle Collection is available on our main Sibahle website, which is www.sibahle.collection.com. However, the dolls are also available on www.bbouncehair.com, which is a mix of both hair as well as the dolls. We ship internationally worldwide. To the US, most of Europe, it's about 5 to 7 working days. It's tracked, and you can track it as well with USPS when it arrives in America. So we've really been fortunate that, yes, we've got Khulile and the team in South Africa kind of servicing the African market, but we also have a UK base where it's easier to service the international market.
And what about beyond UK and South Africa? Are you thinking about expanding into, say, for example, the North American market?
Is this in terms of having shops or in terms of just shipping? I mean, because we ship everywhere. We ship worldwide.
Yeah, in terms of having like a physical presence so like right now, say if for me, for example, I'm in Canada and I'd love to have the doll, but sometimes I want to touch it, I want to feel it, I want to see it. Do you have any plans to maybe do partnerships or have them stocked in stores in North America?
Yes. So we have had a couple of inquiries about franchising opportunities. So this is probably the way we would likely go, rather than us having to, come over and set up physical shops, just because from a manning point of view, we don't have that manpower to be in as many geographical locations at once. But we are definitely exploring stockists who would stock our dolls, as well as franchising opportunities. So we've had a few people kind of inquire about that, and we are in conversations with them.
So we'll keep our eyes open for that.
Oh yes, very much so. And who knows? Maybe you could be our main contact there.
Are you offering me a job there, Caroline?
we are pro employment, so yeah, you never know. You never know.
Let's switch to you, Caroline, personally. When you were a kid, what did you want to be?
Oh gosh, I wanted to be a lawyer. I used to love saying objection, like, Your Honor.
Well, did you watch that show? Oh gosh, LA Law, I'm going to guess.
Yes. I think that's probably it. That's probably it. And it's like, objection, Your Honor. And, in a very animated way. And yes, I guess that didn't quite turn out. But, I love what we're doing right now. I love what I'm doing right now.
What are your biggest personal goals?
My biggest personal goals are, honestly, I would love to get to a position where I am doing better in terms of managing both personal as well as work life. I think there is a tendency to put so much focus on work and neglect your personal life, as well as your individual well-being. So I think I've tend to move away more from materialistic things, but just to enjoy family time. Time with my other half, and those are really my goals for the future. Just really slow down and just appreciate life, to being more than the monetary things.
So right now you wear very distinct and very different hats. You have your role in your finance job, but then you also have the ventures that I can't even say the word. The entrepreneurial. I know, I'm struggling with it this morning. Entrepreneurial ventures that you're doing. Do you ever see yourself moving fully into the entrepreneurial world?
Very much so. I think Khulile and I have always talked about how that is our long-term goal, irrespective of the challenges that we're facing at the moment. I think, though, at this particular point in time, it's been quite beneficial to have our main jobs on the side, just in terms of having to dip into our pockets as and when we needed it, and really get to the business to where it needs to go. But honestly, I would love to look after Sibahle and Mounts, and that be my life.
So you said earlier how if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. What are you afraid of?
I am afraid. Can I answer that in two ways?
Yes, you can answer it as many ways as you like.
I'm afraid of not living life to the fullest. And I always say yes. I mean, I love the Sibahle Collection. I love Bows, and I love what we're trying to do. But I am learning more and more that it's not an end all, because when we initially started the business, Khulile and I spent so much time engrossed in the business that you don't realize that sometimes you are missing on even just time out with the family. And having positive interaction, for example, with family and friends, can actually be beneficial to your business, because you're going in less stressed and with different perspective, and you're talking to people and you're actually really enjoying it. What I used to be afraid of when I first started this venture was failure. But I've learned that through failure, I have grown so much more, the times that we took chances and it didn't work, than the times that we were afraid to kind of jump and see where that kind of took us.
And what are you most excited about in your life right now?
Honestly, at the moment, we're to have a baby, so I'm kind of excited about that kind of journey, the next stage of my life. I know it's a very personal thing to kind of say, but it's been something that I personally have put on the back burner for the longest time, and it's got to a stage where I think that there is more to life, and let's live it. Let's not wait for the perfect moment for that to happen. So this I'm excited about. I don't know if it's going to be easy. I don't know if it's going to be difficult, but I'm going to embrace it.
And what brings you the most joy right now?
What brings me the most joy at the moment is the times when Khulile and I look at our bank account and it's not looking great, and we can laugh. And this is because my outlook on certain things in life has changed. And so seeing that growth within myself personally brings me joy, because I am not the person I was when I first started this journey.
And what are you most grateful for today?
I am most grateful for obviously the opportunities that most people wouldn't have had. I am grateful for having met Khulile, and one day, we will have a conversation about how Khulile and I met. But Khulile and I have only known each other about 2 years, 2 years and a bit, and we were not friends from a previous life. But the universe brought us together, and we have an amazing friendship. She's like a sister, and we've accomplished so much together. Two random people who just didn't even know each other to build this amazing brand. I am so grateful for having met her.
Something I didn't ask you is, when did you start Sibahle? Like, how long and Bounce as well, how long have both brands been in existence?
So Bounce was 2 years in March, and the Sibahle Collection was a year in April. So we're in our infancy, but we are growing. We are definitely growing.
I would just say, wow! In such a short space of time, in under 2 years, you've achieved so much. That is astounding. Like,
Thank you so much.
do you step back and reflect on that? And actually, let me ask you, what are you most proud of that you've achieved?
I am proud of the fact that Khulile and I have built a brand that is synonymous with quality. A brand that is synonymous with excellent customer service, and just building a brand that people are recognizing and are talking about and are interested in. It's been an amazing journey, and I cannot reiterate this enough, that this business would not be here without Khulile. Like, on the times that I've been weak, she's been strong. On the times that I've been strong, she's been weak. And we've just been thrown into this, and we have come up with something that is so beautiful. And honestly, I think, and I'm going to say this again, and I feel like I'm being repetitive, we have learned so much more about life just running this business than we probably had in our lifetime on this earth. It's been resilience, gratefulness, patience, being, stoic. It's so many life lessons that we've learned over the 2 years, but we've come out on the other side.
What would you say has been the biggest challenge that you've had to face?
The biggest challenge is, I think, for me, has always been around cash flow, because we have so many ideas. We have so many ideas, but we don't have the funding to kind of materialize all of them at this particular point in time. But that being said, I think the fact that we have grown organically has also been good, because we haven't got to the point where we've been overwhelmed by too many projects at once. So not having funding has been a deterrent in one side. It's also been good insofar as allowing us to take stock and prioritize and really think about what are the steps that are going to get us to where we need to go. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but in 5 years' time. So cash flow is a tough one.
And what's the best advice that you've been given, or a piece of advice that you'd like to share with anybody who's listening?
The piece of advice that I would personally share with anybody who's listening is that you need to be resilient. You need to have that, maybe that grit to kind of think beyond what you're facing at that particular time, whether it's turmoil. You need to be resilient in the times when you're making so much money that you could blow it, to kind of think, okay, let's put away money for a rainy day, because it's very easy to kind of think otherwise. And then the advice that I was given is jump, because you might fly, because we always think, we don't know what's going to happen if we go into this. What's the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't work out, and then that that's not the route for you. Let's try something different. And it's a very cliche statement, but these are things that I personally kind of live by now. And I just think throughout the whole journey, yes, it's easy to quit. And the reason that most businesses don't work out is because it is very difficult. It is so challenging. It is constant no's. It's knocking on people's door. It's broken promises. It's people taking advantage it's people letting you down. But if you can see past that and remember why you're doing it, then you will come out on the other side.
And who are some women who inspire you?
Michelle Obama.
You know what?
I love Michelle.
I really wish I had a penny for every person who said Michelle Obama. Literally just about everybody says her name. So yeah, wow, Michelle Obama.
No, it's true. It's true. But then on the other hand, like I read a lot of books by Ayana Besant, and one of the books that I read by her was Yesterday I Cried, and she talks about her life. And sometimes when we look at these women who have accomplished so much, we forget about their journey to get to that point. And I think the more you read the background or the stories about some of these women who are amazing women within media, the more you can apply some of their personal struggles to the challenges that you're facing, that you know that if you apply the same principles or have the same outlook that they had when they're going through their personal struggles, you will one day be that person that a little girl is looking up to and saying, "Oh, I admire Sandra Chuma."
Okay, we're not there yet, that's for sure. But I certainly admire you, Caroline. And I truly mean this as someone who has young nieces who are growing up in a world where they don't necessarily always see themselves reflected in media, in dolls, sure. in anywhere. I'm just in awe of what you are putting out into the world. And I'm actually incredibly grateful for what you are putting out in the world. And I know the entrepreneur journey is not an easy one, so I can only imagine some of the challenges that you've faced. But I would say, please continue with what you're doing, because you really are helping to change the narrative and how we see ourselves, particularly as Africans.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, and thank you for this platform. It's great to be able to talk about our challenges, our goals, and just for people to actually get to know the women behind the brand, because it isn't just me. It is Khulile and I, and we are so grateful for the opportunity.
And we absolutely are going to make time and connect with Khulile. I know she's traveling this week, but I'm going to for sure follow up, and I'd love to have the same conversation with her. And one day, hopefully one day soon, we'll actually do an in-person conversation, because I would love to meet the two of you together.
That would be awesome. Awesome.
We're going to finish up real quick. I'm going to do a quick fire round, because just to get to know you a little bit better. Sure. So my ask of you is, I'll ask you a question. Don't think about it. Give me the first thing that pops in your head, okay. And it'll be really quick. So describe yourself in 3 words.
Resilient, funny, and emotional.
When you hear the word successful, who's the first person who comes to mind?
My mother.
What's your favorite book?
The Daily Stoic.
Favorite gift to give?
Perfume.
Favorite gift to receive?
Ooh, shoes.
What's the favorite thing about the place you live?
Not cluttered.
And what's your favorite item of clothing?
A long maxi dress.
Favorite time of day and why?
This afternoon, because we hardly get any sunshine in London. So at the moment, it's summer. So I always sneak out at lunchtime to get some sunshine.
Name 2 people you'd like to have dinner with and why.
Oh, I would say Oprah Winfrey and Serena Williams, actually.
Why?
I feel like Serena is misunderstood, and I would love to get to know her on a personal level, because I feel like she's very good at putting up a front, but I think she's battled quite a lot of demons.
Favorite meal or thing to eat?
Pasta. No, I'm going to say salsa. We eat a lot of pasta and salsa, sorry.
I like that. Well, I know, the Zimbabwean and the Italian, right?
Yes.
What can't you get through the day without?
Water.
What's the screensaver on your phone or on your computer?
Nothing, actually. A black screen.
Gosh, Caroline, that's boring.
I know.
What's your favorite app?
That I personally like. It's called Crosswordy or Word Crossy. It's a word cross app where you sit there and figure out what the word is from letters that have been given to you.
Other than your phone and your purse, what do you carry with you every day?
Um, Perfume.
What's your most favorite place that you've ever visited?
It's Capri, Amalfi Coast.
If you had to pick a theme song for your life, what would it be?
Waiting to Exhale.
What's your worst habit?
I am. Oh gosh, what is the word? What do you call somebody who doesn't like change? I like.
I don't know.
I was thinking, my husband always says this to me, like, you're a creature of habit. Like I like things done in a specific way, and I don't. Yeah, I think that's my worst habit. I like things to be done in a specific way, and I'm sometimes resistant to change. I think that's the word.
What do you wish you had more of in your life?
Time to declutter, whether it's decluttering my mind or decluttering my house.
Caroline, it's been such a joy speaking to you.
Gosh, I've taken up so much of your time. I'm so sorry.
Gosh, I've taken up so much of your time, and I'm so sorry, but I'm so appreciative of this conversation. I'm so appreciative of all the work that you're doing with Sibahle, with Bounce. And where can people find you or find more information about your brands on social media?
So we are on Instagram as Bounce Essential Hair. And then we are on Instagram with the dolls as Sibahle Collection. Will they get a link, or should I spell it out?
Yes, I'll make sure in our show notes that we share links to all of the websites.
Fantastic.
And Instagram. Yes.
Fantastic.
I know you're on Facebook as well, right?
Yes, with the same names, so they're pretty consistent. And honestly, Khulile and I, at times we are the ones who are manning the DM. So if you want to drop us a line or ask us any questions, feel free to do so, or just go through our website and we'll pick them up.
Final question, Caroline. As you know, Ndini is this platform, and in our mother tongue, Shona, Ndini means I am. So finish that sentence for me. I am.
I am resilient.
That is so beautiful. Thank you so much, Caroline. Have a great rest of your day.
No, thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Ndini podcast. I don't take even a single listener for granted. As you know, my goal with this platform is to help shift and change the narrative on Africa, and in particular about African women. But I need your help to do that. Please subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or Stitcher. You can also follow us on SoundCloud. And please share. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to leave a review on iTunes. It helps me to bring great guests to the show, and it also helps others discover the podcast. And of course, I always want to hear from you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on my conversation with our guest today and what you took away from it or what inspired you. I'd also love to hear from you if you have suggestions for other women you think I should absolutely have on the show. Our handle on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook is @Ndini Media. Or you can reach out to me through our website, which is ndini.com. That's ndini.com. Until next time, I'm Sandra Chuma. Be well.